Welcome to today's webinar. My name is Stephanie Van Dyke, the Literacy Specialist for State Support Team Region 8. Joining me today is Debbie Theroux. She serves as the School Improvement Consultant with State Support Team 8. The goal of today's webinar is to prepare your upcoming district plan in relation to your needs assessment and literacy goals.
Your needs assessment. Why do you need a needs assessment? Needs assessment is, first and foremost, a process that can help educators at all levels successfully identify, understand, and better address education challenges. Needs assessment is generally defined as a systematic examination of the gap that exists between the current state and desired state of an organization and the factors that can be attributed to this gap.
A successful needs assessment will accomplish three critical objectives: be reflective of research, meaningfully engage stakeholders, and emphasizes the process as much as the end product. The core components are organized into these four elements: rigorous data analysis, which identifies multiple state types and sources, assuring that the data is valid, reliable, and trustworthy. The second component is collaborative identification of improvement needs, which identifies themes and priorities and represents all levels within a community and their perspectives. The third component is stakeholder engagement, which addresses the diversity of perspectives that needs to occur throughout the process, ensures respect, transparency, and buy-in. The last component is needs-driven and content-specific approaches, which addresses a central organizing framework and is reflective of the needs assessment content and the local organizational context.
There are 5 distinct implementation phases of the needs assessment process. The first is plan. Why are we engaging in the needs assessment? What are we hoping the impact will be at the classroom, building, and systems level? What data should be utilized? Who are the key stakeholders that need to be engaged and at what points in the process? Second implementation phase is collect and organize data. What data sources do you have readily available? What additional data do you need to explore? How can data be presented in a way that is easily understood? The third phase is interpret information. What do the various data sources say? Can input, output, and demographic data be triangulated to build strong themes? We will go deeper into data triangulation in the next slide. The fourth phase is determine priority. What findings or themes emerged that have the greatest potential for impact on student outcomes? The last implementation phase is connect to implementation. How will the needs assessment results be used to drive meaningful long-term change? What additional information is needed about the needs assessment results or underlying causes?
With this process, you are being encouraged to triangulate data. This is a rigorous method of comparing multiple data sources to substantiate conclusions reached, resulting in greater confidence in identified successes to be leveraged and challenges to be addressed. 3 types of data will need to be utilized to triangulate. First, input data. Describes resources intended to support achievement. This category might include information related to improvement plans, curriculum materials, supplies, training, resource allocation, and intervention programs. Output data refers to information that illustrates outcomes or results and could include student and teacher attendance, student achievement, program review, classroom observation, behavior referral, etc. Lastly, demographic or community context data. Information regarding important contextual factors that the district or school likely does not have the power to change, but that may affect implementation of interventions. Such information includes student subgroup population and demographics, local economic trends, student mobility, and overall enrollment patterns.
Research shows that students who start behind stay behind unless intervention designed to close the gap occurs. So reflect on the following questions. Are we using outdated special education or intervention practices? Are we differentiating instruction at all tiered levels? Are we continuing to use an intervention or interventions even when progress isn't occurring? Do we have effective progress monitoring and data literacy skills? A good source of analysis would be your school report card. Is there additional data you can include? You may want to pause this webinar at this point in time to discuss these questions.
To use literacy as a lever in increasing student achievement, the following 4 components should be reflected upon in conjunction with your needs assessment prior to goal setting. Our first component is the simple view of reading. This equation has 2 sides, decoding and language comprehension, that equal overall reading comprehension. Notice the multiplication side. We need both of these sides in order to read. If we lack one component, say decoding, but have language comprehension, I won't comprehend what I read. The same is true for the flip side. If I have strong decoding ability, but weak language, I won't comprehend what I read. I need both sides of the equation. When looking at your data, do your assessments address both sides of this equation, or do they jump to the final product, overall reading comprehension? If I am only looking at student reading comprehension scores, can I do a root cause analysis to determine the breakdown in either decoding or language ability to determine the appropriate goal and intervention?
All learners, no matter the complexity of their disability, have the potential to grow their skills and knowledge in language and literacy. To support all learners, there should be collaboration between general and special education teachers, conversations focusing on all learners and how they are represented and supported along this language and literacy development continuum, and discussion of practices that align to the simple view of reading.
A complete data analysis should include student performance with adult implementation in relation to the 5 big ideas of reading, analysis of each grade level with disaggregation of data by subgroup. This graphic is reflective of the changing emphasis of Tier 1 instructional priorities. Review your Tier 1 core curriculum implementation to determine alignment with these subskills listed above. Note, the purple area is the emphasis within each grade band. For example, in kindergarten and the beginning 1st grade, there is an emphasis for both phonics and phonemic awareness. Do you have data in this phonemic awareness area, or are you jumping to phonics? Research shows that teachers may weigh their instructional practices in the phonics component without knowledge of the foundational area of phonemic awareness.
The 5 big areas of reading continue into adolescent literacy with the addition of student motivation. Does your data address student engagement for older readers? The Ohio Reading Standards address what should be instructional focus within grade levels. Does your curriculum align? So know that you have an awareness into the components of Ohio's literacy vision. Let's move into the steps in the process of gathering data for the needs assessment.
As you are reflecting on your language and literacy continuum to support student learning, here are a few questions to pose at the district level to guide your thinking. You may want to pause the webinar at this time to discuss these questions with your team or refer to these questions at a later time when your team meets.
Step 1 in planning. Define the purpose and intended outcomes of the needs assessment process. Determine the guiding questions that the needs assessment should answer. Establish action steps, timelines, and responsibilities for all related activities. Identify relevant stakeholders and plan for their involvement. Articulate what the needs assessment will cover, the process used, and the presentation, how the results will be conveyed.
Your first step should be using readily available data, as listed here. Do you have any additional data you could include? How can all data be presented to be easily understood for all stakeholders?
Here is an example of looking at trend data with the KRA, the Kindergarten Readiness Assessment. Notice that there is an overall score, but two components within. When doing a deeper dive into your KRA in relation to literacy, are you focusing on the social foundations as well as the language and literacy skills? Are they related?
Here is another example of looking at trend data in relation to your percentage of on-track readers per grade level. When looking at your data, do any trends emerge? When looking at your third grade test, are you reviewing your subgroups for patterns or trends? Does this relate to what was happening in grades K1 or 2?
Here specifically, we are looking at the passage rate on the third grade AIR test. Are there any trends? Do we know who falls within these categories? Do teachers know who falls into their categories and what to do next? What is our plan?
Moving into step 3, now that you have assembled your data for review, what do the numbers tell us about student learning? Adult implementation? What about Tier 1 curriculum or intervention services? Are there trends in the data over several years? What does performance look like by student subgroup or disadvantaged populations? Does a specific grade level stand out for over or underachieving compared to the other grade levels? If we triangulate 3 different types of data, what theme emerges?
To engage in root cause analysis, a problem statement needs to be identified based on data. An example is, at the beginning of the year, in first grade, 62 of 65 students, that's 95%, are at risk in phonemic awareness as measured by Dibble's phoneme segmentation fluency. The following root cause analysis discussion would occur based on the diagram above. Make sure you summarize the data in your analyses.
In addition to the 5 whys example Debbie presented, a Fishbone organizer can serve as another way to go deeper into data. In problem solving, determine which factors are actionable and what is out of your realm of control. Some notes on assessment to remember. No single test can serve all purposes. An effective assessment system includes clear assessment schedule, screening, going deeper when indicated, a diagnosis that includes decision rules, instructional planning and intervention planning, progress monitoring, and content area collaboration and professional development with coaching around literacy.
To identify your root causes, focus closely on related performance concerns. Consider external review findings, like your report card, and brainstorm possible explanations. This is the process you will follow to analyze all of your root causes after you have identified them. You're going to categorize like causes together, narrow explanations to those that are actionable, deepen thinking to ensure causes are root causes, and verify with multiple data sources. Attempt to find common threads within your causes to consolidate your focus.
In an effort to collect reliable and trustworthy data, we need to validate our root causes by considering the following. What is the proof that this cause exists? Is it concrete? Is it measurable? Are there more than 3 data elements to provide evidence? What is the proof that this cause could lead to the stated effect? Are we merely asserting causation?
As you are gathering data, the following questions will help you reflect on your comprehensive needs assessment. Why are we engaging in the needs assessment beyond compliance? What are we hoping the impact will be at the classroom, building, and systems level? What is the framework of the needs assessment? The core themes or topics the needs assessment will cover. What do we need to know or understand about each of these topics, instruction, assessment, achievement, climate, etc., are all learners represented? Is data not simply provided but analyzed in a manner that assumptions and conclusions are drawn? Other data to consider: adult implementation of practices, teacher attendance, teacher experience, family engagement, community partnerships, and student demographics.
As you can see, your needs assessment will influence and inform many other areas of your plan, including determining your leadership team, identifying evidence-based practices, setting learner performance goals, creating action maps to achieve said goals, and your plan to progress monitor periodically for fidelity.
The tiny URL provided on the screen offers steps for planning, for collecting and organizing your data, and interpreting information. The following guiding questions are provided to assist you and your district in determining priorities and connecting your findings with implementation to ensure a seamless process that aligns with state guidelines.
Thank you for viewing this webinar. Questions and concerns can be addressed to your SST8 consultant. Additional information and email addresses can be found on our website.